Welcome to the Red Half of Sheffield preview pod, a preview segment I'm going to do hopefully for all 38 games. Can't speak to that as of right now. I have all 19 other teams locked down, and the first one to kick off the Mighty Blades being back in the Prem season opener at home, 3 p.m. kickoff against the Eagles of Crystal Palace. And I am joined by Matt from the Team Called Palace podcast. Matt, how are you doing this afternoon in America, evening time in England?
Yeah, very well, thank you. I mean, I'd imagine your weather is better than ours at the minute. We've had an awful couple of months, but yeah, very well. Looking forward to it all kicking off again next week.
I'm getting excited. I almost, I've been glued to the TV this weekend and the radio. EFL kicked off yesterday or Friday night. And then all day yesterday, I was glued to the TV, and even this morning and afternoon started early with the United States women's team getting knocked out of the World Cup. And then I just decided to bet the rest of the day on EFL games, and so I'm out ahead. But yes, football is finally back. The big boys start. So let's get right into it. Sum up Crystal Palace's summer so far. The big one noted is Wilfred Zaha no longer with the Eagles. Dive into it. What are your thoughts on Palace's summer this so far?
It's been an interesting summer. I mean, I think we all expected Roy to stay on. That was announced towards the start of July. And then, as you said, in the last couple of weeks, Wilfred has moved on. I mean, I must admit, I'm quite glad for him that he's moved on. I feel as though there's been a number of times in the past where he maybe wanted to go and we simply couldn't afford to let him go because he was so important to us staying in the Premier League. I do feel as though now he maybe is less important. Obviously, the proof is going to be in the pudding. We'll see how we do this season. But I do feel as though for him, he's 31 in November. He's just started to pick up a few more muscular injuries. This might be a really good time for him to move away from the Premier League, concentrate on playing in the Champions League or Europa League. We'll see how Galatasaray get on. But yeah, obviously that is the headline news. I do feel as though now when you look at our squad though, the likes of Bireze, Michael Elise, if he's still there, we do have players that can kind of step up and step into the breach that Wilfred's left. So yeah, it is going to be really strange lining up without him because I think for so long, when you say Crystal Palace to anyone around the world, they would say Wilfred Zaha. So
Mhm.
that is going to be really strange. But yeah, I think, listen, we've had a pretty good preseason. Our preseason last year was shocking. We had some players in Australia, some players in England due to COVID. So that was a real mess. But this year, they've had a trip to the States. It looks as though it's very structured. The main players have been playing. Yes, we'd like a couple more bodies in, but on the whole, I think we're in a pretty good place ready to go for next weekend.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys are. And I will caveat that part on Zaha. Is this a thing you kind of lighten to it, like, you feel in your eyes that he should have just left Palace. It was his time to kind of move on. Do you think in hindsight this will hurt Palace or help Palace with Zaha not being there? Because he was quote unquote their leader at Palace, right?
Yeah, I think to me, I would describe him as the talisman. He was the
Mhm.
man that if we needed something to happen, he would more often than not be the one to step up and make it happen. Um, yeah, listen, it's really tricky because I love Wilfred. I've watched him play so much. I've watched him grow and develop so much. And there is part of me that would have loved him to stay at Palace for the rest of his career and, real go down as the ultimate GOAT, the greatest player in our history. Some would argue he already is, but I would love to have seen him really cement that, score a load more goals for us in the Premier League, have a statue outside the ground, etc., etc. But for whatever reason, he's chosen to move on. I completely understand it. I think he wants to go and try and win some trophies. He wants to play in the Champions League. He wants to try something new. I
Mhm.
think as Palace fans, we say good luck to him. Obviously, we did offer him a new contract. That was a reasonably long contract for a player of his age. And also, some of the wages being spoken about were quite astronomical. So, as I said, bear in mind he's picked up a few injuries in the last 6 months. in a way, I'm quite glad that maybe some of that money will go elsewhere, might go into bringing some younger players into the squad. But yeah, as I touched on earlier, we're going to find out how we get on without him this season.
Yeah, yeah. And you mentioned Elise, Eze. Who are the ones to watch Saturday when Blades and Palace get together? Who are your quote unquote danger men that we have to keep an eye on when we're getting turned over 5-0 probably?
Oh, I don't know about that. I think obviously Michael Elise is injured at the minute, so that's a real blow for us not having Zaha or Elise. Eze's been in fantastic form, both at the back end of last season and in pre-season as well. He's looking really good. So I think he is probably the main man. He's the one that you really do need to keep an eye on. I mean, we've got some other talented players that maybe go a little bit under the radar, the likes of Jordan Ayew, Jeffrey Schlupp, possibly Odson Edward as well. But we are lacking a little bit in sort of creativity and forward players. And that is an area where we do need to strengthen. Obviously, we've brought in Mateus França from Brazil. He's a very exciting young player, but realistically, he's not going to be up to speed for next weekend. So, yeah, I think to be honest with you, we're going to look to be very solid, very hard to break down. And then we'll look to get the likes of probably Eze, Odson Edward, those sorts of players into good attacking positions and try and hurt you that way.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, this is going to be an interesting one. One more question I have for you. Palace, are they going to do any more business? Do you think Palace are going to do any more business in the transfer window before that door shuts at the end of the month?
Yeah, I think quite simply we need to be honest with you. When you look at the players that we've lost over the summer, I mean, obviously Wilfred's moved on, but the likes of James MacArthur, Luka Milivojevic had gone as well. We brought in Jefferson Lerma on a free, which I think is really good business. As I said, Matthias França as well. But I mean, we do need some more depth, especially in wide areas and up front. I think it sounds as though Lewis Hall might be coming in on loan from Chelsea, which would be really good because we've had a bit of a shortage on the left hand side for a while. But yeah, for me, I'd love to see us bring in at least one more quality winger and possibly a forward as well. We're one of those squads where I think kind of ever since we've been in the Premier League, we've always had a decent 11, 12, maybe 13, but we don't have the depth. And I think now more than ever in the Premier League with the 5 subs and all of that going on, I feel as though you need more depth and that's something we've never really had. So yeah, we do need to bring in probably, I reckon, 3 or 4 more players.
Yeah, yeah, I'm right there with you. Sheffield United probably need about a good 5 or 6 more. Whether they're going to get it through the door, only time will tell. So moving along, any thoughts on Sheffield United this year? Yeah, did you keep any tabs on them in the championship last year? Your honest thoughts of how you things or how you think this season will unfold for the Blades? And I have a good sense that you're probably going to say we're going to be in a relegation battle. I'd be very surprised to say, oh yeah, you know what? I fancy you guys to finish 12. Any thoughts on the Blades?
Listen, you've kind of hit the jackpot a little bit here because my day job I actually work in the EFL. I cover the EFL for my day job, so I got to watch quite a lot of Sheffield United last season, and I have to say that I thought Paul Heckingbottom did an outstanding job. And yes, for the level, you did have some very talented players and a very talented squad, but I thought the way he managed those players and that squad was excellent. I think next week in particular, one of your major threats will be from set pieces. I don't think we are particularly strong, especially when it comes to defending set plays. So I think the likes of Amahodzic might get a bit of joy there. Obviously, you've lost Ilman and Dye, which is a massive, massive blow because for me, I mean, I was saying to my podcast partner slash host earlier today, for me, he's not just a good Premier League player. I think he's someone that could be a good player on a European stage. You know, I rate
Mhm.
him that highly. So I think he's a massive loss for you. Obviously, I know there's been talk about trying to get in a replacement, but even if someone comes through the door this week, realistically, they're not going to be ready to play against us. So that is a massive blow. But listen, I think one thing you have got, and I think it's something that a lot of people take for granted or kind of underestimate, is you've got that kind of togetherness and that cohesion. I think you've got a squad of players that will really fight for the manager, for the fans, for the shirt. And that can take you a long way. Yes, you need the quality, and I think at the minute you might be a little bit short in that respect. You bear in mind, obviously, you know, the likes of McAtee's gone back to Man City as well, missing Iliman and Jai. But yeah, I do think that I've seen a lot of people saying Sheffield United, yeah, they'll finish bottom, or they'll finish 19th, and Luton will finish bottom. I don't think it's that clear cut, to be honest with you, because as I said, I think you've got that togetherness, you've got that unity. I do think you will be quite hard to beat. I think you'll be physical. I think you'll be robust, and those qualities can take you a long way. The question is, can you get the extra quality at the top end of the pitch that's going to help you pick up 3 points more often than not?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're spot on. I mean, the one thing that I really think is gonna hurt us is, you know, if coming up, we need a out and out goal striker, and if the rumors of Chuba Palm are rumored, if he's going to sign with the Blades, only time will tell. But we need to score goals. Defensively, we'll be okay, and I think bringing in Austin Trusty over the last week, maybe slotting him in instead of Jackie Longthrow, Jack Robinson. That might work over there and lock that left side down. And so I think we'll be pretty good defensively like we were the last time when we were in the Prem. It's just we didn't have any fans in the stands. So that really did hurt us. And you did allude to having fans back in for this season. So we're looking as this is a makeup season for none of the fans being able to watch Premier League football the last time we were in the league. So I will get down to it. Your thoughts, sum up this opening game of the season, and when you finish, I want your final score and a couple of goal scorers if you want to throw them in there. It could be a nil. You could call 0-0. Who knows?
I mean, I'm not expecting lots of goals, to be honest with you, just based on the fact that I think we're going to look to be quite solid. First away game of the season. I don't think we're going to want to give a lot away. At the same time, as I said, I think you are lacking a bit of quality up top. So it could be one goal either way. I mean, I must admit, I feel fairly confident, but not overly confident. And I think it's partly because it's your first home game since winning promotion. And I think that can take you a long way. Also, we played you, I think, in one of your first home games the last time you came up and you beat us in a fairly close game. And I mean, I'm hoping there's not going to be a repeat, but it wouldn't surprise me. So, yeah, I think one goal either way. I'm going to have to go, obviously, for Palace, not just because I'm a Palace fan. I do think that if you said to me right now, who is more ready for the start of the season, I'd probably say Palace, even though I do think we still need to add a little bit. So I'm going to go 1-0 to us, and I'll go for Bire Eze because he's been excellent in pre-season, and also he does have a good record playing against Sheffield United. So yeah, 1-0 Palace, Eze with the winner.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go the same score line. I was joking earlier when I said we would get turned over 5-0 after yesterday's, I don't know what you want to call that, 3-0 beat down by Stuttgart. Could have been 7-0. Yeah, I'll echo you 100%. 1-0, an Eze goal to seal it for Palace. I have a feeling it's going to be most of the game's going to be 0-0. I'd say it's probably a goal in about the 78th minute, and that probably breaks the United hearts. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. We all are looking at this as 38 free hits. Finally, full time, last day of the season. Sum up the season, how you think it's going to go, and give me a place where you think Palace are going to finish in the league this season.
I mean, I'd love to sit here and say that, yeah, we're going to finish in the top half and we'll have a really good cup run and it's all going to be great. But I'm not convinced purely because there are so many strong teams in the Premier League. There are so many teams that splash the cash and, the likes of Palace and Sheffield United simply don't have it. So I think, listen, for us, just to not be involved in any kind of relegation discussion, that's a good season. Get to 40 points as quickly as possible. Whatever we get on top will be good. I would absolutely love a cup run because I think when you are a team like Palace, you've been in the Premier League for a few years. Realistically, you're not going to qualify for Europe in the league. So it'd be lovely to go on a cup run, possibly get to Wembley. I love days out at Wembley with Palace. So yeah, I think it'll probably be a maybe 12th, 13th, 14th place finish. As I say, I'd love a cup run as well. Just it'd be really nice though to the whole season not having to look over our shoulder or not worrying about going on a long winless run like we did last year. So yeah, it sounds boring, but I think I'd probably take that.
Yeah, I mean, you could sign me up. I would love that. I would love that. Actually, just kidding. I love the championship more than the Prem, so I'd much rather be playing in the championship. It to me, it's the best division in the whole entire world. One final question before we sign off. Pre-match beverage. What is your go-to pre-match drink before the game?
So I must admit, I'm not a massive drinker. I'm more than happy to go to football with friends, more than happy to have a beer or whatever they've got on tap. But actually, I go quite often with my dad, and my dad's teetotal. So that's usually kind of out of the equation. But I mean, listen, seeing as you are American, I'd have to say I'd go for a Budweiser.
Oh, really? That's interesting. Wow. Wow, not even too many people over here drink that stuff. But I get stick for liking I love Carling, and it's such a shame I cannot get it over here in the States. I have tried so damn hard to get Carling, and I'll just have to wait until I come over to England next year to see a match because man, am I going to ship some Carling back? It'll cost me a pretty penny, but I'm going to ship me some Carling back so I have it for when I get back over here and I can drink it because I absolutely love that stuff. But yeah, well, Matt, thanks for coming on. Tell the people your social medias where they can follow you, where they can listen to the podcast at. Just give all that mention.
Yep. So we are the Team Cool Palace podcast. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is at TC Palace Pod, and we are available on Spotify and iTunes.
Okay, cool deal. You can follow me at cjarvis_13 on Twitter and Instagram. Follow this YouTube page, Red Half of Sheffield. Follow us on Twitter at the Red Half or at Red Sheffield. Until the next preview pod that I will do against Nottingham for Nottingham Forest. Up the Blades.